5 nights until New Year's. I will admit, I disbelieved Callie would actually turn up for the meeting. I did decide to give her the benefit of the doubt yesterday, but I was fully prepared to launch a citywide manhunt to find her if need be.
She left you, just like you left yours in London.
So when her voice suddenly pops out right next to me while I'm leaning against my heaven's doors, I'm well and truly a surprise. Hey there, pretty boy, you come here often? I look at her, relieved, before words actually reach my brain. Do I come here often? What do you mean? It's my haven. I sleep here. Yeah. That went way over his head. Meow. She pouts, but laughs lightheartedly. You're no fun. One day I might understand her attempt, and she ups in right after. To D'Angelo's. Anything snarky to say before we leave? Alright. Do you have any more quips you'd like to share before we pay D'Angelo a visit? No, no time to dilly-dally, right? Correct. She seems dejected for some reason, then delected when I hastily take off. Of course, she would be a speed junkie. Luckily, I don't mind indulging her in this particular habit, as long as the streets of New York allows it. It's this time. It's our drive. Wait. Oh, I missed. D'Angelo, you're here. D'Angelo's Haven. One I would be reluctant to call a bureau, no matter how much he insists. Rarely ever change. Sure, new papers, pins, and evidence come and go, but the very essence of controlled disarray, shabbiness, and cigarette stink is forever fixed in place. Much like the trapdoor in the corner, leading down to wherever D'Angelo sleeps during the day, now flung right open. Let's exercise patience. Maybe he's out dining. Let's take a look around. Yeah, what does he know? Even though the place is in chaos, it doesn't seem like anything is out of place, thankfully. With D'Angelo always sticking his nose where it doesn't belong, I'm constantly worried about him in the back of my head. Hey, Mr. Detective, you're being paid a visit by a damsel in distress. And then there's me. I roll my eye. D'Angelo's going to be delighted that she somewhat keeps to the noir convection. Speaking of the devil, D'Angelo squints at her and as he emerges from beneath the door, his lips moving silently as I strain my eyes to hear it. They appear like shadows, the kind cast by the worn-out hopes and dreams of this wretched city, dreams that could only be saved by none other than Gianni D'Angelo. Callie scoffs, amused. Saved? That's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? He leans back over the rickety table, shaking his head opposite to the slush and noir cliches struck in his blade. Callie, a pleasure. Then he turns to me, a hint of a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. I nod at him calmly. Johnny? Pádraic, looks like you're still losing your head. Just not literally, huh? Indeed. The sheriff is yet to relieve of my cranial burden. But worry not. There's still time until the new year. You might yet win that little bet of ours. Callie looks like she's about to vibrate out of her skin in excitement, so I try to snuff it before it can explode and completely derail our meeting. Anyway, we came here to find out how you two clowns know each other. Come on, give me the juicy details. I was too late. D'Angelo shrugs dismissively. He showed up a while back, pestering me about some Anarch girl and her inner voices. Would you believe we clicked over what might just be the greatest movie ever? A movie I don't know that well. I'm not done analyzing it yet. What do you mean the greatest movie ever? Well, I still think that calling The Maltese Falcon the greatest movie ever is highly debatable, but for the sake of our friendship, I shall hold my tongue. The Maltese Falcon? For real? But Callie obviously latches onto another part of our conversation. An Anarch girl? You mean, what's her name? Sana? Who got beheaded by the sheriff? D'Angelo, already ugly face, twists into an even uglier grimace. Yes, D'Angelo. I hesitate, tossing him a cautious look, but I'm not sure how much he liked Callie to know about one of the darker moments of his past. Go on, I'm not one to dodge blame. I killed her. You did what a PI does, tracked her down and brought her in. You weren't the one holding the blade that ended her suffering. Same difference. In a rare bout of tactfulness, Callie decided to not pursue the subject. I would love to have a catch-up with you, Gianni, but we did have an agenda walking in here. A glimmer of light flickers in the angel's shades as he turns towards Callie. I hate to break it to you, but if you're here for anything on Castle, you're out of luck. No new leads since we last talked. Technically we aren't. Technically we are. Artisan. No new leads? Really? I would assume that such a seasoned detective will be capable of pulling ace upon ace from your sleeve. As such, I never truly believed that one could roll their eyes loudly, but Callie somehow managed before interrupting mid-thought. Ellie Sansaric! Where do we find him, Johnny? D'Angelo narrows his eyes, squinting at her suspiciously, and fiddles with his e-cig. The serpent? What's your angle on him? What are you after? Look, if I wanted to confess, I would hit up a fucking church. But hey, this aims to look more like a detective's office, right? So why don't you do what you do best and just give me Sansaric's contact info already? Seems somebody woke up on the wrong side of the coffin. Easy, Tiger, I'm just asking. Sansaric's bad news walking, or crawling, depending on, well... Kindly cut to the chase, Johnny. What are you trying to say? D'Angelo takes a long drag of what I assume must be an electronic cigarette, as if he's really trying to savor the flavor. I once asked him if he actually makes the effort to kickstart his taste bud, but he just shrugged and told me it's just part of his act. Sansaric and his serpents are gone from Harlem, and nobody really knows why. I got theories, but they're just that, so... Great. So we've just burned through our time with pointless chit-chat here, haven't we? Again! D'Angelo shrugs. Callie looks like she's about to walk out in a fit of rage, so I speak up to stop her in her tracks. Clues would be nice. Cut the noir. I'm okay with the unknown. I think he chose Cut the Noir last time. We don't need to know why Sansaric left Harlem. Just tell us where to start looking. St. Philip's and the vicinity of Morningside Park are your best bet. They're not far from each other. You might just dig something up there. Thank you, D'Angelo. Those are solid leads. Ah, the faint whiff of sincerity in your bullshit makes it almost charming. I know they're not quite the Glengarry leads you're after, but hey, on these nights, beggars can be choosers. So, is this intel gonna cost me the usual 2 blood bags? You keep your stash, kiddo. Just clue me in on where Sansaric's hiding once you sniff him out, and we're square. His ugly mug suddenly goes serious. He straightens up and steps closer, eyeing both Callie and me intensely. Last time I warned you that shit's gonna hit the fan soon, but that's old news already. It's way worse now. You can feel it, can you? I nod almost instantly, catching Callie doing the same. I'm bailing earlier than planned, and I strongly advise you to consider doing the same. I won't sugarcoat it. If I could use a lift, and you could use some level-headed advice on the road. He looks genuinely terrified. Callie and I slowly exchange looks before shaking our heads. I can't. Not just yet. We still have a job to do. Neither of us can. Give it a little time. Things are heated, I understand. But at the moment, Callie cannot leave, and I have been saddled with helping her in a way I can only describe as non-negotiable. D'Angelo sighed, slumping visibly, and waves his hand dismissively. In that case, just keep your eyes peeled for trouble, alright? Yeah, you too, pal. Until next time, D'Angelo. Hopefully under a brighter moon.
Ugly alias fuck. Just like the inside of you, Paddy boy.
We're almost at the door when I hear his response, barely louder than a breath. Bright nights all gone now. Only nightmare remains. I should write that down. Callie and I come to stop in front of my car. We should... Now, I already know the crap you're gonna dish out. No splitting up, Callie. I can't fully trust you yet, Callie. But listen, it's late as hell already, so we gotta hustle. If we won't go chasing Sanseret in the same spot, all we're gonna catch is sunrise. We're gonna divide and conquer. I concur. See? I knew you'd... Hold up. What do you mean you concur? I feel a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth before I manage to ring it in. Explain, be annoying or teaser. You don't agree after all? I thought you would be jumping for joy, but if you prefer we stuck together, I can't do anything but agree. She just stares at me in a comical confusion before erupting into laughter. I don't recognize you, man. Where's the stick-up-the-ass Patty? Who's this loose cannon they replace him with? Being replaced. That's an uncomfortable thought, one that crossed my mind many times before. My voice and my voices taking over until all that remains of me is my cracked other shell. Patience, Vion! Time has yet to come! My finger closed confidently over my ring. I can't think about it right now. I have a job to do. I tuck my hands into my pockets. Let's divide for now. Any preference from where you like to lead? For where you like to head? Chasing Ellie alongside... Okay. We're gonna go to St. Patrick's. So, because we choose Morningside first, and we only fall upon... We only cross the, you know... The La Sombra dudes who were looking for any leftovers of Sanseric. Or maybe they were looking for Castle... No. Anyway. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary to find for the high priest of the New York ministry to select an actual church as his nest. I should make my way there to look for any trace of Sanseric. I can't help but wonder what a group of kindred as radical as the ministry would even be doing in a park of all places. Although finding Sanseric here seems unlikely, the place still needs to be investigated for clues. Okay, so let's go to St. Patrick's. I drop Callie off right at the cusp of the park and then hurry off to comb through the church for any traces of Sanseric. Finding a place wasn't as easy as I anticipated. Even though I've lived in New York for 2 years, I was still not overly familiar with the less marketable environs. Unfortunately, once you found the right street, you can't really miss the church. It looms large, that huge rose window glaring down at a patch of land which in the warmer month is most probably vibrant green. Right now, though, it's just a dead white blanket of snow. I stare at the church, forgetting to blink in the face of its glory, and then snap back to reality. Guess there's nothing to it. We just have to check this place out, brick by brick, stained glass by stained glass. The church is bolted up tight for the night, but that shouldn't be a problem. Callie is not the only one with clever hands. A couple of twists and some elbow grease, and that crusty old padlock snaps open. The way I was brought up, a good Catholic boy and a rigorously devoted family, even before my embrace walking into a church or a gospel, invoked mixed feelings inside of me. On one hand, I felt peace, comfort. The house of God was, by extension, my own in his eternal mercy. On the other, I was crushed by the weight of my own sin, both the one I was supposedly carrying just by the virtue of being born, as well as the one I committed on a daily basis. The lies I told to myself, and to the others, to my voices even, most of all. After the embrace, I was mostly just apprehensive about holy places at first. What if I set my foot inside and get smitten by the divine retribution? But then, when nothing happened time after time, all my feelings regarding churches dimmed and died down to polite indifference. Holy places became just places, and that was that. I spent many years as a mortal, pondering the existence of God, and then many more as a godless abomination. And I still have no idea. There was not a soul in sight, just a swarm upon swarm of rats. I am aware that they're sort of the unofficial mascot of the city, but this place is crawling with them, and they are huge and fat, as if they ate the kings. They ate like kings. I have to step carefully because I already dodged a few outraged squeak and bites attempt on my ankle. Aside from them, the church is well and truly empty. Even the cross with the crucified Messiah was sticking away somewhere, perhaps from the duration of the renovation. It takes me a while to thoroughly search the premises, only to confirm that Sansaric is indeed elsewhere. Honestly, it's hard to tell me if he was ever here at all. After a few minutes of aimless wandering, I stumble upon a notice board, cluttered with scraps of paper, parish notes, holy pictures, and what seems to be handwritten prayers. As a connoisseur of what is out of place, only one prayer catches my eye. Its paper visibly unblemished by the passage of time. It stands out so glaringly that I cannot help but gently pull it off the board to get a closer look. North of the heavens, his grand celestial shrine, brother in the Lord, united by blood that is divine, island blessed by his touch, where saints and angels shine. A peculiar prayer. I will admit that my knowledge of that Bible has waned over the many decades since my embrace, but the text of this prayer doesn't ring any bells.
Leave it, lad. Don't let it muddle your thoughts.
The paper is already safely tucked into my breast pocket before I can even realize what I've done. I drowned, intending to take it out to look at it again, when a whole swarm of rats burst out of a crack in the wall, their incessant chittering filling the air. But what actually piques my interest is a trapdoor right next to the crack, its outline barely visible against the dusty flooring. Where could it lead?
Unimportant. Inconsequential. Leave it. Leave this place. Go, go, go.
I wince and spin my ring a couple of times, willing a 20 to appear. When it does, I calm down and approach the trapdoor for a closer look. Sure enough, there's a small handle, but no lock, just a narrow slit where the trapdoor doesn't quite fit right. The slit is so narrow that my fingers barely fit inside, but once they do, I discover it's been bolted shut from the inside. Who managed to lock it so securely, and how?
The hell are you looking there for? Hands off, you Irish bastard!
My musings are interrupted by faint voices drifting in from outside. They're quite distant, so it's not easy to tell if they're a threat or just some mortals on a late night walk. No matter. The trapdoor seems vastly more important, and the content that it bars. Should I get inside? Better not to take unnecessary risks. I have to take a look. Yeah, let's go in. Find myself overcome with a torrent of unnatural curiosity and grab the door before I can finish a thought. It yields to my unnatural strength as easily as a soggy cardboard, and soon I've got enough grip to just simply rip the trapdoor off its hinges and fling it aside. My brain catches up with me at the very last moment, just enough to lower the trapdoor more quietly onto the ground. I look into the yawning darkness beneath. Perhaps it leads to the crypts of some other intriguing underground sections beneath the church. Not that it really matters. The narrow passage is absolutely crammed with corpses. They're of various states of decay, and none have escaped being gnawed on by the rats. They don't look like anyone in particular, but then again, it's hard to tell with their flesh full of holes and tears. Some of them may look like if they've been bitten by a fellow kindred, with what looks like puncture wounds on their necks. These marks are quite well hidden, though, concealed among the bloated skin, rat teeth marks, and the pallor of death. Circling somewhere, in the periphery of my consciousness, the voice from outside grabbed my attention. Once more. This time they're louder, more urgent, coming from the vicinity of the vestry. Bollocks. I'm not too keen on waiting around to find out whether or not they're actually the hunters. The figures under the stained rose window seems to taunt me as I hastily move toward my car. I'm not one to take unnecessary risk, but running away without even putting up a fight is not my usual modus operandi either. I haven't managed to find much in the way of clues, but it'll have to do. I pulled over the meeting spot, spotting Callie sprinting towards me from a mile away. She throws herself inside, slamming the door behind her far less gently than my car deserves. Go fucking drive! Something awful must have occurred. I slam on the gas, and within seconds they're tearing through the streets, the city a blur. What happened? Did you run into trouble? Just a deadly chase through the fucking park! Ran into some kindred trying to track down Sansaric. Someone named Veritra sent them. They were after the Raven Trickster too. Holy shit, do you think they were talking about me? Bollocks. Of all the places in New York City, she just had to stumble upon Vitra's men. What are they doing, searching for Sansaric either way? They're gonna get him, grave him. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, shut up. Where's that 20 when I need it? Hey, did you even hear me? Yes, sorry, I don't know. I'm just glad they didn't catch you. She eyes me suspiciously. Get yourself together, Pádraic. Share my head to shrug over the worries. Seems like there wasn't much in terms of clues in the park. Yeah, zero, zilch, nada. How about you? Did you find anything solid at the church? Not really. Only that there were a lot of rats running around. But I do not believe Sansaric has the power to shapeshift into a rodent, so we should be safe on that front. She laughs out loud. What kind of rats? Carnivorous ones. Someone had thrown quite a number of bodies in the crypt. So, I would have tried to check the bodies for ideas, but there were some unsavory types hovering around the church. I left early in case they were one of the hunters. Yeah, not gonna lie, that's the level of careful I would have expected from you. A little disappointing perhaps, but safety first, right? She waggles her eyebrows conspiratorially, and I return a pale smile. So, nothing interesting aside from the big little guys? I hesitate for a moment. Well, there was that prayer. I pull over a fish out of the handwritten prayer I found on the notice board. Seems off, for a reason I cannot quite grasp. Yeah, I guess. What do you make of it? Not sure. It just caught my eye as a clean piece of paper among all those weathered ones. We heard through it carefully a few times before it finally started making sense. I knew it couldn't have been a simple coincidence. Here, pay attention to the first word of each line. She leans closer to the note and I point at the letter. Note, brother, island. It's one of those islands in the East River. Kind of a bleak spot, which honestly seems to fit the ministry just fine when you think about it. We both sit in silence for a moment. I can't help but spin my ring a few times, searching for comfort in the familiar gesture. So, this is our best shot, I guess. We should head there right now. Good, just get me the fuck out of here. Oh, brother. Nard Brother Island is kind of a bleak spot, which seems to fit the ministry perfectly, come to think of it. Hopefully we'll find Sansaric there instead of another red herring. When Callie and I hit the wrecked pier of North Brother Island and see the derelict buildings nearby, I wince with disgust. I no longer hold vivid memories of my days on the war front, yet the sight of ruins still invokes those unwelcome sensations, as intense as ever despite the years that have passed. Thankfully, the gruesome ambiance is somewhat ruined by perfectly new RIBs moored along the pier. Some of them has clearly been used in the past couple of hours, judging by the mud and melted snow on the seats. But I am more curious about the way Callie's path crossed with Sansaric's. Just to make sure we're on the same page, what exactly is your connection to Sansaric? She seems apprehensive to share, as if scared that I would judge her too harshly, but in the end acquiesces to my question. So, you know I deal on the, let's call it, darker side of the web, right? Yes, I'm not sure I understand it. You don't talk about it too often. Yeah, it has come to my attention, yes, but you seem keen on hiding it. She hesitates and opens her mouth, clearly ready to launch into an explanation, but seems to remember that we're on the clock here. Or perhaps she rightly assumes that explaining it to me would be futile and happily uses it as an excuse to change direction. Well, since Eric was technically Reinhardt's client, but I was the one handling all the sketchy stuff he requested. Never met the guy or anything, everything always went through Reinhardt, but since Eric is the only client who I know by name. Fine, you have mentioned before that he and Reinhardt had a relatively good relationship. How do you plan to exploit that? She snorts, and I am unsure whether she is annoyed that I caught on to her modus operandi or exasperated about something else. I'm about to keep my gentle prodding when suddenly we cut off by gunshots. And they're getting closer. We duck down and observe as some guy comes staring onto the pier, screaming his lung out in terror. He's running backwards, tripping over every bump, while desperately trying to shoot at something in the tree line, totally unaware that this gun clip has been empty for a while. He's decked out head to toe in urban warfare gear, reminiscent of the hunters I had the pleasure of meeting a few times lately. He hasn't noticed us yet, blinded by his delirious fear. Perfect moment to strike. I glance at Callie, catching her already looking at me and jerking her head towards the Martel. I assume he would have wanted to deal with him herself, so I don't move for a beat before sizing up the prospective prey. Feed, startle hunter. And then I launch without any further thought, getting to him into the blink of an eye and sinking my fangs into his neck. I don't consider myself picky when it comes to feeding, but by God, the hunter tastes vile. High on adrenaline, muscle already burning with lactic acid from his panic run. It's a weird feeling, the bliss of satiation mixed with the disgusting taste of what filled me up. I come to see Callie watching me with a complicated face. All good? I carefully set the body down and wiped my mouth clean, grimacing in disgust. Yes, forgive me, but that was highly unpleasant. She laughs a little. You're hereby forgiven. If those were Sensoric's minister who pushed his poor bastard to the edge, I'm not exactly eager to meet him myself. I nod, looking at the lifeless body. The masquerade would urge us to hide it, but nobody's going to come looking for him here ever. And time is of the essence, so I don't bother, and neither does Callie. We share a quick glance before sneaking cautiously through the thicket towards the ruins looming over the bare trees. We tread carefully through the bushes, mindful of the crispy crunch of the snow underfoot. Perhaps we're overly cautious because the distant gunshot would cover the sound of a stampede, but better safe than sorry. Although, admittedly, the shooting has quieted down in the last couple of minutes, replaced by terrible screams of torment. We stumble upon several corpses, and surprisingly a decapitated skeleton with scraps of decomposing flesh still clinging to it. The murder of crows feasting on the scene couldn't care less. To them, flesh is just flesh. It gave us both some time for a pause. Those fuckers! The screams are almost drawing out the gunfire now, signaling that the ministers might be getting the upper hand. Very well. We'll be fine as long as they don't mistake us for enemies and decide we should share a similar fate to the hunters. Great, Callie, you got yourself right in the middle of a fucking war front! Paint a broader picture or joke. As war front go, this one isn't so bad. At least the food's marginally better than, well, way back then. My lame attempt at cheering her up earns me a quiet snort. So what's the plan? We could try sneaking past, hoping the hunters are too busy with the serpent to notice us, or...
You should let the raven choose. That ravenous, raving, raging!
Look, over there! There's a spot under that collapsed floor where we could hide out and wait for this to blow over.
She'll feast on you along with crows. You must choose. You!
Roll 20. Silence. I better let Callie pick up our path. I would say we'd go with whatever your daredevil instinct recommends. You sure you didn't hit your head on your way here? Positive. Well, let's kick some ass then. Maybe I'll score us a few points with Sansaric right off the bat. I nod and follow her as she kicks down the door and enters the ruined building, every sense heightened as my vitae surges in anticipation of a fight. The floor is a jigsaw of body parts. You could probably piece together a few whole bodies from the mess if you were so inclined, but as we are in a bit of a hurry, I make sure to walk around them though, only half noticing the sickening crunch of bones crushed under Callie's boots.
What are you waiting for, idiot? It's safe, sound, secure.
The hairs on my neck stand on end, and I come to a stop. Something's not quite right. Heightened sense fill their presence. Yeah, they're hidden. I shut out external sensation and hone in on the feeling that made me pause. I isolated it from my other senses, focusing intently on that distinct presence. There, behind the wall, 3 of them. I flashed 3 fingers at Callie to signal the hunter stashed in the room next door. She plastered herself against the wall while I kick a pebble to mimic footsteps. Fooled, 2 hunters burst out, shotguns at the ready. I lash out with my iron like a whip. My iron will like a whip, catching one of them by the brainstem, dominating him until he aims his gun at the other one and pulls the trigger. Gray matter splatters over the wall. Confusion and dread plaster all over the shooter's face just before Callie rips his throat out. The last hunter starts panicking, blasting his assault rifle everywhere, trying to shoot out through the wall. We duck behind the door frame, and Callie sneaks a quick glance. She must like what she sees because her grin is truly savage. Without even a glance to coordinate Callie and I lunge forward. I go high, aiming for the gun, while she dives low and slams an elbow into the man's solar plexus, dropping into his knees, then flattens with a bright hook to the temple. Below the hunter's finger can't even twitch on the trigger. He's already lying on the ground, disarmed and confused. We both move in again, but this time our usual rhythm is off. The syncopated moves clash as we both reach for the hunter's head, each of us planning to snap his neck, not realizing the other has the same idea, and the head just pops off. The lips keep moving for a few moments as if murmuring a silent prayer. We drop it immediately, looking at each other in embarrassment, and take a step back from the now headless corpse. The clamor we caused inevitably draw more trouble. As we turn to leave, a bunch of hunters fleets in, weapons at the ready. Eh? Oh. Okay. Sorry, I'm checking my emails. I wanted to erase some of them, and I just realized, yeah, I had one of my sub that was auto renewed, and I forgot to turn it off. And I was like, whoop. And I just want to take care of that. I could have waited until next stream. I just want to make sure I didn't do. Whoop. Sorry. The wires of my mic. My mic still works fine. It's just unplugging and replugging my mic from my trips. Like, it's making it more loose. So those are my September posts, but yeah, I want to remove the auto renew. Sorry about that. All right, this should be taken care of. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, I'm done. Okay, doke. So, yeah, the clamor we cause inevitably draws more trouble as we turn to leave. A bunch of hunters fleet in, weapons at the ready. We go back to back and switch places, throwing them off balance. But before we can launch, we hear a loud ding, and the hunter in front of the door stills and feels like a corpse. For that is exactly what he has become. His head is severed by a cut so clean that his body stands dumbly for a moment before crumbling onto the ground. Behind steps a couple of serpents, all clad in leathers and gold. A glamorous, yet terrifying sight. For a split second, the room goes deadly quiet. And then all hell breaks loose. Callie and I hardly need to intervene. The hunter and serpent clash with each other. Gunshot echo, cries fill the air, and blood flows freely. It's all over in less than a minute, and the kindred predictably emerge victorious, leaving one last victim unscathed. The silence that falls is so oppressive that it almost buzzes in my ear. I reflexively check my ears and fear I've gone deaf, but thankfully it doesn't seem so. Callie looks confused as well, which calms me down a bit further. The serpents don't move, don't speak, only look at us judgmentally, calculatingly. It is this heavy silence, filled only by the scent of blood, the sounds of approaching footsteps, feels like the crash of thunder. The man who entered the room is barely Callie's height, a full head shorter than me, but he carries himself with the grandeur of a king, ruthlessly ruling his domain. Eli Sanseric, the most powerful snake himself. For the moment of his movement, it becomes immediately apparent that his thundering heels were all for show, an intimidation, a warning. He magnanimously gave the assailant a chance to flee in disgrace. Or most likely, he let them scatter for a more interesting hunt. Perhaps Callie and I should have taken it as a cue to make ourselves scarce as well. The last remaining hunter tries frantically to crawl away, but he collapses under their Sanseric's steel-guide boobs. That's when I realize why the serpent is walking so oddly. He's dragging a dead hunter impaled on the enormous claws protruding from his fingers. The body slides to the ground with a hollow thud. Another kindred hands him a clean handkerchief, which he uses to wipe the blood off his hands, and promptly flings it onto the corpse he just dragged in. Standing over the whimpering hunter, he surveys him with sheer disdain and tilts his head to make direct eye contact with Callie, barely sparing me even a glance. Perhaps my reputation as a non-arc bootlicker precedes me. Given that you've been smeared with the blood of the cattle, I'm inclined to believe you didn't partake in the assault, am I right? Callie straightened up, almost vibrating out of her skin. Please, I have enough bullshit from their crew already. No, we're siblings in arms here. No, we're not siblings. Let's not go down that path. We indeed had run more than one run with the hunters recently, but not exactly arm in arm with your clan. She tosses me a sour glance. Sansaric's skill still ignoring me, gaze locked on Callie, unblinking, his posture rigid as a cobra's. I'm unsure if I should be counting my blessing or feel offended that he keeps pretending I'm invisible. I'm not particularly keen on getting on his radar. Suddenly, he lets out a short, sharp whistle. Instantly, two of his serpents lift the last hunter, propping his limp body into a standing position, but Sansaric doesn't spare him a glance. His eyes are fixed on Callie, but she pretends it doesn't bother her one bit. He's been quite the real trouble, this one. Quite the rogue, wouldn't you say? Of course. Of course you would. Why don't you teach him a lesson? It's clearly not a real question, and the one acceptable response is a dutiful yes, sir. But I am not the soldier at whom this order is directed. I sigh inwardly as Callie plants her feet wide, crosses her arm, and glares right back into Sansaric's cold snake eyes. He clicks his tongue disapprovingly. She seems to be catching on that her rebellion won't earn us any points. In the ministry, it's all about order and hierarchy.
Leave her be, lad. Leave her be. Let him bite. Let him spit.
Okay, so I didn't catch out what's going on, but basically, we needed to do something about her. But I remember I did a botch. I did a botch when I wanted to do something. So basically, this is where the guy came back to his friend with a grenade. So yeah, go back to your go back to your base and blow your friends. But that plan failed, and now he come back with a vengeance. We have no time to wait around for whatever punishment awaits her. I step in front of Callie, arm pushing her gently behind me, and clear my throat. Volunteer, do it on her behalf, or take the reins. Leave the girl be. Let me take care of him. That, unfortunately, does bring Sansaric eyes onto me, and everybody's in the room as well, Callie included. Frankly, it bothers me a little bit. I very much prefer not to flaunt my gifts for everyone to see, but I don't think I have a choice. Dementation, see my mind and weep. I crouch down and lock eyes with the hunter, wide-eyed from exhaustion and terror. Yet there's a shred of defiance left in him, and I latch onto it at the first word escapes my mouth. I whisper the truth, unpleasant, exhilarating, reaching deep into the core of the hunter's ego. It's the truth he knows, but keeps hidden, the truth he cannot handle. I speak until he's a step away from falling apart. Eyes spouting tears and rolling back into his skull. No, don't! The last shred of his defiance crumbles. The hunter's mouth opens wide like he's trying to swallow the whole building. Then he starts laughing. It begins with a twitchy giggle, but quickly spirals into uncontrollable laughter. He drops to the floor in convulsion, foam bubbling at the mouth. His eyes are bulging and teary, his hands staring at his old face, digging into his skin. But I keep going. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Sansaric coming over and I feel his hand on my shoulder. Now, that's quite well enough, my boy. We don't want him completely broken, do we?
Little Callie sat on the wall.
It takes a long moment before I'm able to shake off the elation, to withhold the truth seeping out from within me. Eventually I back off, eyes struck onto the ground. I especially ignore Callie's dumbfounded gaze, feeling flustered and ashamed of my lack of control. The hunter breathes laboriously on the ground. Sansaric's serpent eyes follow these feeble movements unblinkingly. He advanced towards the hunter slowly, lazily, and lifted him off the ground with both hand clamps onto his shoulder. I watch from the sideline as his entire demeanor shifts. Gone is the relentless intensity, the danger, the zeal. His eyes look soft and sweet when he locks them with the hunter's and murmurs something into his ears, gently as if soothing a frightened animal. I know from story what Sansaric is capable of, but it's still uncomfortable to watch as the hunter melts into Sansaric's arms and embraces him, sobbing into the crook of his neck and clawing desperately at his back as if trying to draw him closer. It looks intimate, reverent, a veritable encounter with the most beloved divine. Sansaric carefully pulls away, ignoring the hunter's clinging hands, and fish out a hand grenade from the hunter's gear. Return to your patron. Make him see the error of his ways. The hunter immediately gets up, feet unsteady, and leaps away through the door into the cold darkness. So yeah, that wasn't a good idea to leave him alive. His gait is awkward and clearly uncomfortable, as he never, not even for one moment, averted his eyes from Sansaric's face. Enamored look firmly etched into his features. Come! He strides confidently towards the pier, his entourage obediently follows suit. And naturally, we've herded along to courtesy of the serpent who insists of shoving us as if it's truly necessary. With no further distraction, the path feels much more shorter than I recalled. In the distance, I can see one of those ribs bobbing on the waves of the East River. I wonder if that hunter will truly yield to the serpent's charming hiss. Now, Sansaric turns to Callie and me, sizing up with an icy glare, but even though his tone returns to the frightening intensity from before, it carries a tinge of, dare I say, benevolence as well. You have the misfortune of catching me in a nasty mood, I'm afraid. But if you provide an acceptable explanation for your presence on my turf, I might just let you go. Well? Callie flicks a glance at me, and I nod at her encouragingly. Name's Callie, and this year's, oh, I know who that is, the Baron's lapdog, the court's errand boy. Ah, indeed, my reputation precedes me. I elect to remain silent. I'm more interested in you. Callie seems a bit flustered. I'm happy to notice that she has caught on to the prize of Sansaric's attention. Perhaps she will choose her word more carefully.
Finish him! What are you, wimp? Fuck him! Fuck them all!
I'm Rainer's castle child. I run with his coterie, and I know you have business relations with him. I was actually the one who quickly handled the orders from those trinkets you wanted. Indeed, she chose the safer path, but it hardly matters. Sansaric's face grows even sour, lips curling down, eyebrows knit together, and he glares her with open hostility. But then, unexpectedly, he throws his head back and laughs, loud, free, mocking laughter that makes me decidedly uncomfortable, and Callie even more so. His laugh abruptly cuts off, and he's back to staring at her coldly, unblinkingly, perfectly poised. I haven't heard from good old Ray for months, child. Whatever you think you procured went to someone else's hands. He falls briefly silent, and then his serpent's eyes narrow. Do you even know what exactly it was that you acquired for him? Her silence is the answer. I keep my face blank, even though inwardly I furrow my brows. Callie continued to look more and more flustered, partly due to Sansaric's oppressive presence, of course, but partly. She doesn't seem to know what is going on. Little Callie had a big-ass fall. So yeah, this is basically the Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme. But Sansaric clicks his tongue disapprovingly, and I quickly clear my throat, moving his scalding focus onto myself. Plead, evade, or coax. Callie here is looking for her sire to give him his much-earned comeuppance. Perhaps you'll profit for him as well. Could you share with us your most recent dealings with him? My attempt at wheedling information out of Sansaric is embarrassingly obvious, but thankfully all he does is smirk and sigh as if thinking about Rainer has brought him great trouble. I don't mind. Admittedly, it was mostly because that brat was insufferable, fixated on the antediluvians like a child obsessed with a new toy on the market. I could feel the confusion slipping onto my face. Antediluvians? I didn't know anybody was interested in them unless in a strictly quasi-religious sense. Aside from the Sabbat, of course, but they... Cassell couldn't probably be cavorting with them, could he? No, that's impossible. Callie would have noticed that. She would have had to notice, even when oblivious to many more sins. But all the sheriff's hound and all of his men, oblivious to the storm brewing in my head, Sanseric looks at Callie sharply and continues. How he came about the knowledge that my clan and me in particular holds the knowledge about our most ancient ancestor is a mystery to me. But he did seek me out, asking numerous questions about ancestry, power, and blood. It makes me twitch a little when he waves his hand dismissively after such a long period of immobility and singular focus. Let me be perfectly clear. The history of Clan Ravnos was never of interest to me, and I had little desire to discuss it. Neither had Reynard, up to a few months ago. What changed to prompt his interest in his topics? I haven't the slightest. I would bet there's some profitable motive lurking behind it. What I will say, however, is that his focus on, how did you put it, business relations waned significantly. Judging by Kylie's countenance, this is news to her as well. For the first time during our conversation, Ellie's face became a picture of true savagery. Gone is the pleasantness, exasperation, tinges on courtesy. All that remains in anger, unrepentant and feral. Couldn't put Callie's head back on again. Reynard Castle has been slipping in his promises, old child of his. I am done graciously waiting for amendments. Callie sneaks a little look at me, so I nod at her encouragingly. She takes a beat to compose herself and starts speaking. I get it, so let me speak plainly. Reynard's missing. Whether he's gone for good or just laying low, I cannot say. No one's been able to reach him. I think he's out there somewhere, hiding, but he's off the radar. You've got your ear to the ground here in New York. Heard anything about Reynard in the last few nights? I have no interest in that brat in so much as the objects he swore to procure for me. And since now I'm aware that he had no hand in obtaining them, it is high time that I move on to greener pasture, don't you think? Especially now that I know they intend to deliver. No? Sensarek almost seems to have lightened up by a hair, but his expression snaps back to his usual icy detachment as he leans forward slightly, his gaze as steady and chilling as a snake's. Reynard Castle meddles with powers beyond his ken. I wouldn't be exactly surprised if his sudden uptick in the hunter activity could be attributed to his action one way or another. Yeah, the firearms. We wait, hoping he'll elaborate on the strange implication, but it seems he considers our discussions done. He strains them up and signals to his second-in-command, who quickly moves in to hear the hushed instruction he whispers. Reynard Castle, meddling with something beyond his ken, connected to the hunters. Could it be that is that the task with which Vitra saddled him? I need to know more, but I see Callie looking at me, and then she moves closer, preventing me from delving into the matter. What's our next move? Sansaric clueless about Reynard too. Your sire's messing with dangerous shit? Wait, great, tell me something I don't know. What now? I'm about to insist we keep prodding about the hunter angle when I catch her dejected face. She usually walks with so much pep in her step that any sort of sadness looks unnatural on her features. It's like she was born to smile and not to frown. We see what you're doing there. We see it. Does it bother you that Raynor has been undermining you and going back on commitment that involves your work? She scowls at me, crossing her arms. Of course it bothers me. What do you think? He was supposed to screw other people over, not me. Ah, yes, I understand now. So there is no honor among thieves after all. Should we go, emphasize, or negotiate? The sooner we find him, the sooner you'll be able to say that to his face. Let's bid our farewells. Hold up! There's one more thing I need to ask. She backs away and cuts to grab Sansarec's attention. He acknowledged her right away, but is deliberately slow to finish a conversation with his right-hand woman. Just one more thing before we scram. The circulatory system seems to have a hit list, and Raynor's sitting at the top. Any clues what's that about? Sansarec's eyes narrow in anger and contempt. Well, calling me astonished. He's been blabbing on and on about his latest illustrious benefactor who would help him circumvent the red market. He makes such a sour face that we're still mortals. I'm certain to be spitting with disgust. Seems like he's got caught on the wrong side of that slumbering bitch from Hudson. Frankly, good riddance with that. She tilts her head like a confused puppy while my vitae runs gold. And who do you mean exactly?
She has you. She has you now, lad. She knows. She knows. She knows.
I twirl my ring, feeling the weight of Callie's glance until it snaps to 20. Bollocks. We also made it through without veering towards unsavory subject. Sansaric gnashes his teeth and a low, tittering murmur ripples through his followers. That Simitsi bitch, Vritra, or whatever the fuck her name is. You don't know her? Then count your blessings, child. What's her deal? Her deal is that she waltzes in like she owns the place and steals what's been rightfully ours for decades. I raise my head just in time to see his eyes blaze with a pure yellow hue, fangs elongating and his jaw loosen in a furious scream. A forked tongue flickers back into his mouth as he calms down, returning to his usual frigid appearance. I add two and two together and realize that Vritra must have been the one who ousted the serpent from their turf in Harlem.
Did you forget the Rad? She drove them out of the way St. Patrick. She drove them out the way St. Patrick got rid of.
I breathe in and out, watching the ring roll 20, feeling the tension slowly leave my shoulder. But then Callie just keeps talking. I wonder what kind of relationship Reynolds has with his Vitra. Do you think?
I do not think about her, child of Reynard, nor do I wish to start. My time is precious. We're done here.
Thank God. Sansaric fully turns his back to us, conferring with some of his serpents. Callie strains her ears to hear their whispers, probably more out of general habit and curiosity, so I quickly tug on her sleeve. I think our meeting has concluded. We should leave Sansaric's turf before she drives us up himself.
You're right, I guess. I really hope for more clues than that.
Well, at least we know Sansaric has nothing to do with Renner's disappearance. We'll strategize when we're away from this place. She nods, clears her throat loudly like an actress warming up for a performance and speak, not even waiting for Sansaric to face us. Thanks for not throwing us out on our asses sooner, Sansaric, and for the info too. We're out of your hair now. She spins on her heel and we make for the exit, but he stares also dead in her tracks. You should leave the city, child. Looking for that sire of yours will yield you nothing but death and ruin. And if your leaving means that brat digs himself deeper into his own shit, he gives her a smirk, perhaps the first one thus far, then I might be willing to lend a hand. Callie starts shrinking in on herself, but not out of fear or embarrassment, but more like a coiled spring getting ready to be sprung before relaxing abruptly, or to be more precise, freezing. Sansaric offer has not been made out of sympathy, but kindness. Kindness, Fionn! Kindness guides the raven's wing! rare sight indeed, if our kindred's world. I'm glad Callie understood in time and managed to keep her mouth shut. Instead, she gives a silent nod, hooks her arm with me, and we make our way out of that decrepit building into the dead of frigid night. Connecting the dots, we've gathered a considerable trove of information about the matters related to Callie's Sard. We should discuss everything, take a figurative breath, and determine our next course of action. I heard some of the crazy legend that popped around the ministry over the years. I don't know if they can actually control the elements or not, but the second we step off North Brother Island, a rootless wind kicked up, shoving us right back to our boat. It was like Mother Nature was screaming at us to get out, to run, leave this cursed place before it consumes us whole. So leave we did. We crossed the East River and only slowed down when that wicked wind finally took a break from breathing down our necks. That's when it abandoned us and dives into the icy Hudson, stirring up wild waves. We are talking down on this spear. The thunderous crash of the water drowns out our voices, all fierce and intense, like it was devouring our words to sustain itself while yearning for spring. I feel like Callie might be in need of some light entertainment after the recent revelation, so I put on a habit of a show, ticking off points on my fingers as I lay out what we've figured out so far. Let's break it down. First up, Jessica Wainwright says Reynard Castle is not public enemy number 1 on the circulatory system hit list. Yeah, I'm probably going down with him if I don't stop digging. Not like I got much of a choice anyway. Correct. Second, Ellie Sansaric swears that he hasn't talked to Reynard Castle for months. And the items? Yeah, items sounds about right. Right. The items you arranged for Sansaric through Castle haven't showed up yet. He also developed a rather intense, almost obsessive interest in the antediluvians, but his objective and reasons are still a mystery. She just quietly nods along. Okay. Reynard Castle has been MIA in New York City for the past few nights, despite having meeting lined up. I spin my ring out of habit, even though no foreign thoughts spoil my mind at the moment. Doesn't sound good, none of this makes sense, we're only looking in from the outside. Looks like your sire is playing a very dangerous game indeed, one whose rules we don't know at the moment. And there's that Simitsi from the Hudson, Veritra, was it? Sansaric mentioned she's after Reynard. Tell her about Vitra. Tell her. Spoil her. Enlighten her. And here I hope Callie will let that matter go as well. Sadly, it seems I am out of luck for the night. Don't know much about her, just that he's got some sort of show at the Hudson. We should definitely look into her. Oh yes, look into her eyes. Into her eyes. Into her heart, lungs, liver, spleen! Silence, goddammit! Spitting the rings helps me calm down a little and gather my thoughts into a well-owned argument. I raise my hand and surprisingly find Callie scowling at me with an annoyed expression. But I need to lead the conversation elsewhere before we can unpack her emotions. I'm not convinced that what's the smartest approach. What solid proof do we actually have that ties her to Castle? Aside from the rumbling of a disgruntled serpent. She rolls her eyes exaggeratedly. None, but then again, we don't have much anything solid, so we might as well chase up what leads we do have, right? Tell you you'll go talk with Vitra together, lad. Take her to the dragon. That makes sense. How about the circulatory system, about the Anarchs, about the Camarilla? However, I think it might be better to focus on investigation on the circulatory system. She narrows her eyes at me like I pretend not to notice she's looking at me at all. Honestly, this feels way riskier than just chatting with one kindred. I can't believe I'm the one saying this. I don't even get to try and persuade her just how risky it really is for me when her eyes grow wide in surprise.
Are you scared of her?
Not quite, but thank you for the excellent excuse. Well, Sansarik did imply that she single-handedly ousted the entire group out of Harlem.
To be fair, he only suggested that he just does as she pleases. He's not a fan of hers because she really stepped on his toes. You can't even fib anymore, lad. What else is there for you?
Bollocks, I'm getting sloppy. The ring doesn't really want to land on the 20 either. Callie seems narrow in suspicion, and my vitae freezes solid a second before she confirms my fear.
Hold on, you know her? Like, personally?
I don't, well, I heard of her.
Oh, you've heard. You've pleased. You've feasted. You've served.
Word gets around quickly that she's been the talk of the town for some time now. She's quite the enigma.
The enigma you know, the dragon you serve. Stop it! You always want the truth, the gospel, the verity. Stop! But you can't even provide it yourself.
No one knows where she came from or why she chose New York, only that she invades territories and stands her grounds decisively.
A parasite then, just like you, the tick, the louse, the tapeworm.
Oh, for God's, shut up!
Cancer, cancer upon the world, the slayer, the sower of the... I said shut up! What will remain of you? Her, him, them, us? What will remain when you...
Close your mind to it, Fionn! Yes, I will. And that unknown element is precisely what makes her a threat. She shuts her eyes and grits her teeth like a quern.
Seriously, you know we can't trust the gossip mill. It's like the lifeblood of kindred politics. Everyone's been hyping up Sansarik as this big scary motherfucker, and look, this guy's practically a sweetheart.
Maybe we just got him on an opportune moment.
Exactly. We might just get Vertra on a good day too.
Maybe we won't. Might. Are you ready to stake it all on wishful thinking? While the stone-cold fact is those kindred who sought her audience for one reason or another never returned.
And the same can be said about encounters with the sheriff. I don't get why you're all weird about looking into her, especially since you've never even met her.
The diff...
Confess your sin and she will absolve you.
20, finally! I stop finally spinning my ring and just grip it tightly, my knuckles turning a shade paler. The main difference between her and Camarilla is that with the Ivory Tower, you can occasionally talk your way out of the deal, negotiate like you did a couple of nights ago. With Veritra, it's a different story. You just disappear. Can't force myself to look her in the eye as I speak. I gaze firmly locked into my ring. Thankfully, the voices have finally calmed down for the moment. Kylie is silent for a while too before throwing her hands up.
You know what? As much as it kills me to see it, you're right. This Veritra chicks is way too dicey to just waltz up to. Let's stick to something more solid for now.
Yes, exactly. Her relief overwhelms me so much that my leg shakes with the effort to keep me upright. I spin the ring just a little to tether myself to the ground, finally looking at Callie in the eye. They look surprisingly empty compared to the words that leave her lips.
It's just that... this is killing me. I need to do something with my hands before I literally explode.
Literally? Is she talking about the same thing that forced her to look for a new home each night? What do you mean? Can I help, or why? What's going on? Are you bored?
More like restless. Got a coin or something I can toss? Maybe a pebble, a button?
Weird, she says. Wired, she says. Well, who am I to judge? I rummage through my pockets and hand her a quid that got lost in my coat before I came to the new world.
Thanks, so... Oh, shit. Looks like the serpents are having second thought about letting us walk.
What? That's bad news. I turn and look around, feeling the coin leaving my hand, but there's nobody there. The river remains turbulent and still at ease, filling the air with the sound of crashing waves, but otherwise appears calm, abandoned and quiet. When I turn, Callie have already backed a few steps away.
Never mind, probably just my mind playing tricks. Hey, what's up with your ring? My ring? What? Tee-hee-hee-hee. It's gone. Callie lifts her hand and gives her fingers a little wave, flashing the double band, and I feel the whole world crashing down into my head. What you gonna do now? What are you gonna do now, huh? What are you gonna do? I don't even breathe, but it's like she's put a plastic bag over my head. I'm suffocating, drowning in the middle of the desert, fingers trembling and grasping for relief in her hand. Are you gonna cry? Give it back. Why the fuss? It's a cool piece and all, but seriously, what's the big deal? You don't understand. I really need it back, please. Oh, but you don't. Let her keep it. That old useless, pointless. She crosses her arm and leans back while I wobble forward, my body tensing to jump by herself while I fight to keep it in place. I clench and unclench my fist, desperately struggling not to keel over, not to keel down, not... Or just end her, kill her, hurt her. Hurt her. Oh yes, hurt her, like you hurt everyone. Callie, I'm serious, please. It could really turn really ugly, really fast. Give it back, just give it back! Call dear fine Pádraic, call dear fine Pádraic. Is that Celtic? I can't even understand what they're saying, shouting and howling over each other in an endless cacophony of strengths long suppressed, flooding me now with a clear intention to pull me underwater. Where you belong, you little bitch! Callie still keeps stalking, but I barely even hear the words she tosses my way. I will if you tell me what the fucking problem is. Look, this is from my angle, will you? I feel like I'm about to lose my head here, and you're acting like we're gambling with my existence. You get how messed up that sounds, right? Fucker and her self-righteous bullshit. My legs give out and knees hit the ground with a resounding thud, and my body follows, drawn to the snow and wood and water underneath like moths to a flame. I barely manage to support myself with my arms, shaking with exertion. It's not what you think. Just please, hand it over and... Hand it over, overhand. Cut the head. And then what? You'll just skirt around the issue? That's all you ever fucking do. Oh, well, she knows you, lad. Shiver races up and down my spine, torso, limb, lips, nose, brows, every single hair on my head. I clench my teeth and still feel them chatter, letting out a rhythm of a fast staccato, just like the voices in my head do. Such a weak little shit you are. You really don't much think of... You really don't think much of me, do you? Haven't I shown I'm reliable enough? I want to tell her. Such a fucking pussy. It's not about you, Callie. Not everything is about you. Because everything is about you. But all I can do is shiver and tremble and seize and slowly, voice by voice, lose control. You never had control. You only claim. You pose. You declare. Come on, Pádraic. Quit the game just this once and trust me. What's going on with you? I might be able to help, you know. Kill her. She pries up one of my hands away from the decaying pure wood I nearly crush in my grip and slips the ring onto my finger. You're nothing. You're no one. You pose as trash. I barely register her stepping back. The ring is back. And you'll never be anything more than... It's back. It never went away. I spin it once. 20. The voice disappeared from my head. Silences in discord they've been sowing so loudly in my mind. A wave of relief washes over me and feeling replaced numbness that had my limbs overcome. I curl down myself, calmer, happier, safe, cradling the beringed hand to my chest. I realize now that I'm breathing. gasping for air in the most useless, mortal, relaxing manner so I so desperately need. I don't understand what happened. She could have done anything she wanted with it. Why would she give it back just like that? Is it possible that all she wants is an explanation? After all the lies and deception she's encountered, she must crave honesty and clarity. I can give her that, or at least a few crumbs of a larger truth. It is not that I leave important decision to a dice roll, absolutely not. You're right. It would be immensely foolish and risky. I looked her straight in the eye, a picture of honesty. She slumped onto the pier next to me, nodding, encouraging me to go on. This ring, I consider it my lifeline. Keeps me from drowning in the relentless flood of voices in my head. It doesn't shut them up entirely, but it dampens them, makes them manageable, subdued. She tilts her head thoughtfully. Is this why you've been so obsessed with those inner voices and that duskborn Sana? Yes. I'm searching for a more lasting fix than just this temporary one. Or at least for some clarity. Clarity on what? Past, present, future. Wow, what should I pick? On what these voices actually represent. You don't know? I know. I've known these voices as long as I can remember. I understand why they grew stronger after my embrace, but I also know they're not like what other experience. Pádraic, I'm already lost. What others are you talking about? I don't speak for a while, fingers dancing over the ring even though the voices are silent for the moment. I hope there are a few crumbs of the truth will satiate her hunger for answer, but it seems she needs a full bite of it. I'm Malkavian, Callie. The whole Caitiff act is just a facade. Okay. And? She what? I can't help. Viciously. You don't seem too shocked. I mean, what are we if not the secrets we keep? Callie isn't my real name, you know. But what do you really go by then? Huh. Slow down, Turbo. We're still unpacking your little masquerade here. What's up with that? I sighed deeply and run my fingers through my hair. Why the pretense, you mean? Yeah, that. I get the gist, but I'm curious about the deets. The deets are that. Malkavians aren't exactly the crowd favorites, particularly those among with an uncanny insight into the future and no skills in concealing it. Wait, hold up. You're telling me you can see the future? No, nothing so esoteric. I get feelings, hunches, occasional whispers offering me a glimpse of what might be. Sounds pretty nifty to me. It's not, you're wrong, but I get it. It usually does. Many mortals and kindreds alike dream of knowing what's to come. But not all knowledge about the future is created equal. Especially when you can't be sure whether or not it is given to you as benevolence or maliciousness. Wait, so your own voices are screwing with you? Yes. That's seriously messed up. No disagreement here. So, those whispers, did they tip you up that time when you saved those anarchs 2 years back? It's surprising that she remembered this throwaway information I gave her yesterday, and impressive. Borderline endearing. In a way, I was pretty lucky. Lucky to guess right, and lucky that Torque cut me some slack for my erratic talent. She nods silently, clearly piecing together our conversation in her head. But if you understand these voices and their origin, why obsess over dissecting them? I hear many voices, each of them distinct, but also the same. It's difficult to explain. I pause and hesitate. Should I tell her about the... Of course, Fionn, of course! Among them is one that's elusive.
Doesn't come from any known place. Can't be quieted, not even by my ring. I need to uncover its source and purpose. So it's nastier than the others? Not exactly, just enigmatic. And there's only one.
Yes, yes, lad. Tell her about your mistress. Tell her. Tell her.
Shut up! Somebody needs to know about a damn thing. Nobody seems to know a damn thing about it. She squints at me, suspicion tightening her feature. You holding out on me again? I squeeze out a laugh, hoping it sounds relaxed and careless. Of course I am, but I'm open about that. It's impossible to share everything one knows about oneself. I find that fascinating, don't you? No matter how transparent you try to be, there are always aspects of your life you keep to yourself, intentionally or not. The nuances of our situations can pinpoint the moment when her eyes glaze over and my world starts finding no purchase in her brain. I ramble on for a little longer, partly to recharge my batteries, partly to just spite her.
Cool it, Gandalf. Keep your secrets. Just remember, I'm not letting fate roll the dice for me. We already have one reckless idiot in this team, and that's me.
She really is something else, isn't she? I suppose she deserves one more crumb of truth. I offer her a small but genuine smile. Thank you, truly. Had I known you would be so understanding, I would have opened up sooner. I apologize for misjudging you, Callie.
You should. I'm as reliable as they come. Cool as a cucumber. That's a stone cold fact. But I let it slide. Everyone fucks up once in a while, right?
Coming from an expert, nobody's perfect. Some of us more than others. So, shall we go back to the important matter at hand?
Yes, we should, unless we got more bombshells to drop.
The thing is, I know she's just trying to get a rise out of me, but I can't help the way my unbeaten heart stopping hair stands right up to the back of my neck. I calm myself down in the blink of an eye, but I'm sure she noticed me fumbling. Thank goodness for the rare display manners where she elects not to pester me about it. No, nothing else to declare, but I admit I'm quite curious about your real name.
Nah, we're definitely not there yet.
Very well.
So, Reynard, why is the circulatory system so obsessed with getting him out of the picture? I mean, there's the whole blood trade thing, sure, but why the sudden urgency? I'm guessing it's because they're onto something we're not.
Very likely. You already have an idea, don't you? And what about it? Or they made a mistake.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, but I guess it's kind of less likely that a whole fucking corporation is totally wrong about something, you know? Now, if the Camarilla hasn't swiped my laptop and all the tech I had with it, I might have done some digging online, but honestly, it probably wouldn't have made a damn difference. A behemoth, like the circulatory system, probably uses a sealed-off intranet for all their dirty laundry. If only I could hack into their database, but it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda at this point.
Hold that thought. Getting into the circulatory system database might just be within our grasp. She squints at me, reluctantly impressed. Have you ever come across someone named Kaiser?
No hablo español.
Alemana, but that's beside the point. Kaiser is quite the figure here in New York, or to be more precise, a veritable eminence grise, his influence extending everywhere like a spider's web. There's literally doesn't know, even with the recent altercation with the La Sombra Primogen.
What altercation?
I wouldn't know, a brutal one. I wasn't interested in it. Oh, no. A rather physical one, but I don't know the details. Only that Kaiser very much did not like it.
Huh, that Primogen sounds pretty cool. I should definitely not meet with them then. I don't want no altercation.
I doubt you have much say in whether the Primogen choose to seek you out. Anyhow, if we want to operate under the Camarilla's radar, Kaisers are kindred.
Yeah, but hooking up with someone like that, I mean, I'm not even planning on sticking around in New York for long. Piling up debts like while hunting up for my sire sounds like enough of a nightmare. That's fair. Well then, we don't have any other. Hold up! What about that Malkavian savant? Word on the street is she's pretty slick with intel. You know her, right? From clan to clan? Oh, you mean Hope, the CEO of Double Spiral. Right, her. She's famous for her tech chops. Heard some chatter about her back in LA too. Well, she might not be the best fit for this job. Cracking open the database is one thing, getting her hands on it is another. But she's been a thorn in Kaiser's side lately, gaining grounds on his areas of influence for the past couple of years. Maybe she picked up some new tricks she hasn't unleashed yet. It's your call, Callie. This is about your sire, after all. She weighs her option for a moment. I can never be sure what she's going to choose to do at any given moment, but right now, I really, really would rather she chose Hope. A day where I don't see Kaiser is definitely much brighter than when I do. Perhaps just the tiniest nudge would be enough to put Callie on the right track. I reach out with my will, poking tentatively at her brain, but before I can make any real difference, she's done hesitating. Then let's touch base with the tech whiz. Seems like a safer bet to me. Yes, thank you. My god, we're about to influence her choice? Wow. Alright. So I'll set up a meeting for tomorrow night, just after sunset. Meet me at my haven as soon as possible. You're finding another place to crash tonight, I take it? She dazzles me with a brilliant smile. Yeah, but I'll be here. Pinky promise. I half expect her to extend her pinky finger towards me, but it seems like it was just a figure of speech this time at least, so I smile and nod. And then we go our separate ways, melting into the vanishing night. One call to Hope later to steal 5 minutes of her time the following night, and I'm already home. 5 months ago. Fucking Aaron Fletcher. Fletcher. So, you've been at this every single night for how long now? Squad leader. Oh, so this is the one that got away from Eli. About 13 years, give or take. Damn. It's a lot of process, ain't it? Best you heard it straight from me, though. I've seen the effect it has on folk who ain't ready for it. It changes you. Keeps you up at night. Gets right into your heart and holds on tight. And there ain't the same mind to share it with, cause nobody's gonna believe such tales. Now, this here burden, you can let it crush you, or you can forge it into a weapon strong enough to destroy those damn leeches and avenge your offspring. Your choice. How widespread is this? How many like you are out there? In the States? Could be hundreds, maybe thousands. But the numbers ain't the point. We operate in small, close-knit team. No offense, but that seems mighty backwards to me. A good leader could use your collective strength to greatly amplify your impact. Not to mention your shared expertise is essential for the success of any venture. What about gear? Please don't tell me you're out there with this antiquated stuff the NRA would be ashamed to showcase as a relic. We grab whatever we can lay our hands on. Ain't like there's a budget set aside for our kind of work. But what if there was? The Mad King. Alright. And the night? Night 4.